Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to process the data for the Momentum Lab, which involved jumping on a force platform. I'm looking here at the handout for the lab, and the particular part that I'm going to focus on is the calculations that you're going to do. So before I talk about any of the nitty-gritty for how to actually calculate the values that I said we're going to calculate, I want to clean up my data a little bit, okay? And you should do the same while you're watching this, right? So step one is, oh, and by the way, you need to do this on a real computer. iPads actually can't handle this. You have to do it on a real computer of some kind. I'm going to go ahead and delete the date and time column, because what do I even need that for? And also, by the way, if you have multiple runs in there, hopefully you remember which run is yours. If there were several runs that were just garbage or one was one of your lab partners, keep the one that's yours, delete all the other columns. Okay, so when all is said and done, these are the only two columns that I should have left, are time and vertical force. All right, I'm now going to highlight them both, hold down the Shift key and click one then the other. And now we will insert a chart. All right, now the kind of chart that it gives us is probably not the right one, unfortunately. Chart type here says line chart. It looks right, but it's actually wrong. Let's go with a scatter plot. So scatter plot's always the right choice. This stuff right here is before I even got on the platform. This is me getting on the platform. And finally, I am on the platform. Really, I don't need any of the data before, looks like certainly before 2 seconds. So let's go ahead and delete some of that. So brushing up on your Google Sheets skills, right? We will tap the number here and we'll highlight that entire row ad infinitum. And then we could scroll down, but remember, you have a lot of data points, okay? My data point was recorded at 1,000, or my data was recorded at 1,000 hertz. So every 0.001 seconds. So there's like 2,000 data points before I get to 2 whole seconds. So I'm going to grab this thing and expedite the process a little bit, right? Not scroll down. Whatever. We'll go ahead and click around like here. And right-click now on your selection and delete rows. And now I have a much nicer graph without all the lead-in stuff, right? I'm also going to go ahead and delete this stuff at the end. I'll spare you the watching me do that. All right, and having deleted those sort of points after I fell off of the platform, now our graph looks a little bit, I don't know, cleaner, right? We've got standing on the platform, dipping down, jumping, here I am in the air, right? Not touching the force platform, and boom, landing. All right, and then we said this is actually not a great execution because I fell off the platform. What should have happened is I should have had another sort of static line there at the end where I'm standing successfully on the platform. All right, hopefully yours looks like that. That will make processing the data a little bit easier. Now, what do we do from here? Well, I said the first thing that you're going to calculate is your weight and mass. Okay, now, you may already know what you weigh, but you actually need to know what the force platform says you weigh. Whether that's perfectly accurate or not, you need to have that number as it measures it. That's based on these numbers right here, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the data and I'm actually going to break it up into separate sheets, separate pages within this one sheet. So I can do that by clicking this and it will add another sheet. I'm actually going to need 3 sheets in all. So I'm going to have one for just standing there, one for the actual jump, and then another one for the landing. Okay, so that's my next step, is I'm going to take stuff and paste it into the other sheet. All right, now I'll do that for the jump here, all right, and then I'll kind of skip those parts for the video. You'll just see it suddenly populate, and I'll make the charts again. The process is a little bit repetitive. You've seen me do it once. If you forget how to make a chart, you can back up and watch me do the whole insert chart, etc., etc. thing. But I'm just going to select first, let's see, like 2,000 extra data points or so. I'll stop at around, let's say 3.5 seconds. So how about I'll go from 2.5 to 3.5 seconds because that seems representative of my weight simply standing balanced on the platform. Let's see, 2.5 seconds. Doesn't have to be exactly there. I'm just looking for, several thousand data points or whatever that on average represent my weight. Since you could see it kind of bounces up and down a little bit. And whatever. All right, copy. And I'll go ahead and paste them into this last sheet here. And I will right-click on it and rename it weight. Okay, now, these values here are, of course, time. I'm not going to make a graph out of this. What I'm instead going to do is simply calculate an average of all of the numbers that are in this column. Calculate an average? Mr. Errico, that sounds horrible. How could you calculate an average for all those numbers? You'd be typing in stuff into your calculator forever. Well, I'm not going to use my calculator because that would just be unnecessary. Instead, what I'm going to do is select all of it. I was hoping there was another row below it. I guess I could add 1,000 more rows. Whoa, look where it took me, all the way down to the bottom. Here we go. All right, so I got one more row down below. I'm going to go ahead and insert a function here. Now, if you're new to Sheets, then you've never seen this before, but the way you insert a function is always you say equals. And now anything I put in after that is a function that it's going to do something with. What I want to do is calculate the average. All right, the average of what? Well, it seems to be presuming to know what it is because you can see the little highlighted bars around it, but I'm going to go ahead and specify by putting parentheses what range I want the average to be for. So then I click on the first one, I scroll up to the top, holding down the Shift key to select the entire range. I click on the top one, I close my parentheses, I hit Enter, and there I have, that's basically my weight. Let's call that, I'll round it, 754 newtons is my weight. Okay, fine. If I want my mass, I just need it to be a number. All right, if I want my mass, then it would be this number. I will click on this cell, divided by 9.8, since my weight is mg. Okay, so it looks like my mass is 77 kilograms, because I'm not as slim as I used to be. All right. Now, fine, that we need the weight and the mass for different parts of our calculations. The weight I will need for the next set of calculations. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the data for the jump. So to me, it looks like the jump begins, I'm going to select data between 4 and about 4.5 seconds. I'm going to be looking for when it hits like 0, okay? When it hits around 0, I'm going to stop. All right, so here goes. Around 4 seconds, scrolling way down. Oh, here we go. Almost there. Okay, let's say around 4 seconds. Oh, okay, there's 4. And around 4.5. Oh, here we are. I'm in the zeros. Let's take up to that data point. I copy it, and I'll go ahead and put it in this sheet. Oop. Paste it, and I will rename this one jump. Looks like I also need one more sheet here at the end. Let's reorder these a little bit. Okay, and we'll call this one landing. I'll be pasting stuff in there in a little while. Okay, so for my jump, I pasted the data in. Let me go ahead and make a new graph just so I can see what's going on more easily. And this is what my jump looks like. It's of course giving me a line graph. Thank you, Sheets. Could have made a better choice there, but whatever. Now, when you are jumping, what you need to remember is the force platform is already at least exerting, say, like your weight on it. So there's two forces acting on you, right? You've got the normal force upwards, which is what these numbers are, and you've got your weight pulling you down. So what you actually want next is to calculate the net force acting on you. All right, here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to make I added a row there by right-clicking. Let me show that again. I right-click and insert one above. We'll make a new row. I already did it, but all right. So this is time. This was force. I'm going to make this be net force. This one was the force applied by the platform. That's like the normal force. The net force would be the normal force minus my weight, which, if you recall, was 754 newtons. Okay, so come back over here. I'm going to insert another equation. The net force is this number minus 754. Enter. Okay, so the net force for this first value is negative something or other, right? What I'm looking for are the first place where I start seeing positive values. So I'll go ahead and drag this all the way down. Whoa, so far. Okay. Back up, back up, back up there. Okay. And I'm going to ignore any values here which are negative. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just select them and delete them. So anytime when my net force is negative, we will ignore it, both after the jump and before. Okay, come on, here we go. Negative values right there. We will delete. All right. So now this is my fully tidied up graph of the force during my jump. Now that I've cleaned up the force data for the jump, let's go ahead and take a look at the landing. All right, let's see. Back up to the top. The landing begins sometime shortly before 5 seconds and ends at the end of my data. Okay, so let's find that moment around 5 seconds. Yeah, so here is about when I start touching down. Okay, and then all the way to the end. Select that data, copy, we'll paste it in landing, and add another row above so that I can say time, force, net force, do like we did before, equals this number minus my weight was 754 newtons. Drag it down to the very bottom. Okay, and then go through and delete negative values. Okay, starting around there is when I start seeing negative numbers, so we will delete those rows. And on the top side, yeah, there's this one random negative value in there. I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I think I'll have to leave that in. That's some weird quirk. But definitely all these can be deleted. Okay. Now, that's my all my data cleaned up. What is the next step? Well, the next step is finding the area under these curves, right? And that'll be done using the net force and what's called the trapezoidal method, which we will cover in the next video.